Okay, so here's the Unit 1 test review. And this is all about patterns, and after this chapter we'll be moving on to some more algebra. But right now we are working on what we have been doing since the beginning of the year. So in front of us we see a pattern of trapezoids, and they're creating a tile border. So stage 0 has a certain number of trapezoids. In fact, the first question asked me to complete the table, which asked me to complete the trapezoids. So stage 0 is that one trapezoid I see. Stage 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4 trapezoids. I'm sorry, stage 1 has 4 trapezoids. Stage 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3 more trapezoids. So that's 7 trapezoids total. And so we can imagine, or we should be able to see the pattern, how many trapezoids are being added each time. It looks like, based on my calculations, that we are adding 3 each time. So therefore, I can complete the rest of the table by adding 3 to 10 trapezoids, and then 3 more to 13. And we can create a graph based on this. So basically at the bottom, I'm going to write the stage because it's the independent variable, stage number. And over here, I'm going to write number of trapezoids. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give myself a little bit of space. 1, 2, 3, 4 stages, including 0. And by trapezoids, I'm just going to go up. I only have to get to 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It looks like there's only 10 spaces, so I'm going to go up by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And now this should be enough room for me to do at 0, stage 0, I have 1 trapezoid, so I'm going to put it right in the middle there. At stage 1, I have 4 trapezoids. At stage 2, I have 7 trapezoids. At stage 3, I have 10 trapezoids. And at stage 4, I have 13 trapezoids. So I have, looks like a graph, right? A line right there, which is good. All right, so moving down, we want to write a recursive rule to determine the number of trapezoids. And we talked about a recursive rule being something really just in terms of in words, what's happening. And we said it's really important to have the first term, and the first term is associated with stage 0. So in this case, in words, we are starting with 1 trapezoid and adding 3 for each stage. Is this pattern arithmetic or geometric? And we talked about the difference between the two. Arithmetic is when you keep adding something, whereas geometric is when you keep multiplying. So this is arithmetic because we add to get to the next term. To get to the next term. All right, last but not least, we got part E over here. Write an explicit rule that represents the number of trapezoids in each stage. We talked about that explicit rule being really straightforward. That is actually the rule that will get us to the next term. So the number of trapezoids is equal to whatever we started with, and that's the stage 0 number. So in this case, it's 1, plus, because we keep adding 3, that's the 3 right there. And you can use whatever letter you want to talk about to represent the number of the stage. I'm going to write N to represent the number of the stage. So T represents the number of trapezoids. And N represents the stage number. And so that, you should go ahead back and check it. If I plug in 3, for example, stage 3, I'd plug in 3 right to N, and it would be 3 times 3, which is 9, and 9 plus 1 is the number of trapezoids, 10 trapezoids. Using the rule, let's determine how many there are in stage 12. So I'm going to take this rule, T equals 1 plus 3 times, and instead of N for stage number, I'm going to write 12. This would be 3 times 12, which is 36, plus 1. And so the number of trapezoids would actually equal 37 trapezoids. All right, moving on to the next page. Okay, so the next one we have some triangles. And this is kind of like the one that we had shaded. This is a pattern for a Native American basket. So we've got stage 0 here. And so we want the stage number and the number of unshaded triangles. This is like that pattern that we had done in class. So at stage 0, to me it looks as though we have one unshaded triangle. In stage 1, if I count the number of, we have 1, 2, 3 unshaded triangles. At stage 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unshaded triangles. So in order to establish the rest of the stages, stages 3 and 4, we need to figure out the pattern here. Now, when we did a pattern similar to this, we kept multiplying, but there's nothing I can multiply here. I'm basically just adding 2 each time because you're taking that unshaded triangle and making 2 more unshaded triangles in it. So we, to get the rest of the pattern, are just going to keep adding 2, 7 triangles, and then 9 triangles. Is this an arithmetic or geometric? Once again, because we are adding, it's arithmetic. Because we add to get the next term. All right, the next one, we have a stack of chips right down here. We've got stage 0. So at stage 0, it looks to me that we have, in fact, 1, 2, 3, 3 chips. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Let's count them. In stage 2, it looks like 3, and then there's now 6 chips. In stage 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 chips. Okay, so what's happening here? In this case, if I was to check the adding, first we add 3, and then next we're adding 6. So that can't be done with adding. But hopefully you guys can see that the pattern is that first we multiply it by 2, and if we keep multiplying it by 2, we'll get the next terms. So the next one, 12 times 2 would be 24. And then if I multiply this one times 2, I would get 48. So is it geometric or arithmetic? Well, this case is one where it's geometric. It's geometric because we have to multiply. Okay, so it's geometric because we have to multiply to get to the next term. All right, so we're moving on now to our last page. Problem number 4, we're thinking about joining a gym. Planet Fitness has a deal that charges $42 per month, no strings attached, whereas Blue Sky is running a different special. They charge $2 for the first month and then double the previous month's bill each month. So they want us to fill in the tables. So we're going to talk about your $42 per month. Okay, so let's talk about the first month. So if we join Planet Fitness for 1 month, we're going to have to pay $42. And then so let me just actually label this. This is the month, how number of months, and this is the cost. So this is the month and this is the cost. Okay. So Planet Fitness is an arithmetic sequence because they keep adding $42 every time you go up. So here we're starting at $42 and we keep adding another $42 every single month. So we are gonna take 42 and then we're gonna add 42, and so now we've paid $84. And if we add another 42, then it's going to be $126. And if we add another 42, then it will be $107. $68. And if I add a 42, then it will be $210 that we will have spent for Planet Fitness over the course of 4 months. Whereas in the Blue Sky, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first month is only $2, but we are going to need for the second month to multiply that by 2, because we are going to double the previous month's bill. So here we've got 2, and then the next month we've got 2 times 2, which is 4, but we still have that original 2, so now we've paid $6. And then if we multiply the next one, sorry, this is a little bit confusing the way I'm writing it. I probably shouldn't have written it this way. But in the next one, here the bill from the month before was 4, so now we're going to have 8, right? But we just paid $6 the month before, so now we've paid $14. And now we're going to double the month before's bill, which is now 16, and we're going to add it to the 14 that we paid the month before, which is $30. And now if we double the $16, then we're going to get $32. If we add it to the $30, then we're going to have $64. So this is how much money that we have spent on these gyms so far. So write a recursive rule for each gym. Planet Fitness, it starts at $42 and adds $42 each time. And Blue Sky, it starts at $2 and multiplies by 2 each time. Okay, so which plan would you choose if you planned on keeping the membership for 6 months? And explain why would why would you choose that gym? So in order to get that answer, we'd have to, do one more iteration on our charts. So if I added $42 for this one more, then I'd be up to $252, and that would be at the end of 6 months. Whereas in number 6, if I added, I'm going to take my 32, I'm going to multiply by 2, which is 64, and I add it to the 64 that I got from the one above, and now I've paid $128. So which one would you choose if you were going to keep it for just 6 months? I would say that I'm going to keep the Blue Sky because that's the cheapest one for these 6 months. So I'd say Blue Sky because it is cheaper for the 6 months. But honestly, if we continued this out the very next time, I believe it's going to get more expensive because if we kept it for 7 months, then this one would be 128 plus 128, and so that's already going to be at 256. And I guess it would make sense for 7 months, but as you get further and further along, it is going to cost more and more and more money. And so that's definitely going to become problematic. All right, so USPS charges 44 cents to mail a regular letter. It weighs 1 ounce or less. Each additional ounce will cost an extra 17 cents. So they want us to complete the table, write an explicit rule for the cost of mailing a letter. Okay, so basically let's find out the value we're gonna start at. I'm gonna work with the table first of all. I do know that 2 ounces, well, we gotta figure out what 2 ounces cost. 1 ounce will cost, and 0 ounces will cost. Or not even 0, I'm sorry. No, 0 ounces will cost. So a 1 ounce letter will cost 44 cents, 0.44. Anything in between 0 and 1 will cost 44 cents. In order to get to the next ounce up to get to 2 ounces, I'm going to have to add 0.17. So if I add 0.17 here to 44 cents, I'm going to have 0.44 plus 0.17, and that will be 0.61. To add, go to the next one, I can fill out the rest of this chart. I'm going to add 0.17, and I'm going to get 0.78. But now I've got to be careful about the last couple of things here. 6, if I go from 3 to 6, I'm not adding 0.17. I'm adding 0.17 3 times. Once to go from 3 to 4, 3 to 5, 4 to 5, and 5 to 6, so 3 times. So I've got to add it once, 2, 3 times, and I get 1.29. And then if I want to go up to 9, once again, I have to add it 3 times. So 1, 2, 3 more times, it becomes 1.8. And then to get to 12, I have to add it 3 more times. 1, 2, 3 more times. I'm doing that on my calculator. 2.31. So the one thing I don't have in this table is how much it would cost for 0 ounces. Now, a lot of you are going to say that 0 ounces would cost $0 because you're not sending anything. And I understand why you want to say that. But we talked about working this pattern backwards to get the 0 term, the starting term. So if you actually take 0.44 and you minus 0.17, it tells us that the starting term is 0.27, which may not make sense if we're not mailing anything, but at the same time, it does fit our pattern, and we're saying this is an arithmetic pattern. So now we can go ahead and write our explicit rule. Our explicit rule is going to follow our, our recursive description kind of that we have right here. The starting value, or the cost, I'm going to say the cost, is 0.27. That's the minimum it could be according to our pattern, plus 0.17 times the ounces. And so I'm going to say W for weight. That's why I'm going to put W. So 0.17 W. And you got to check that this actually works. If we go ahead and now we plug in, for example, 9 into our equation, we can go ahead and check this right here. Does 0.27 plus 0.17 times 9, does that work? Let's just check on my calculator. 0.27 plus 0.17 times 9, and I get 1.8, which is the right answer. So my pattern does work. So if we paid $4.52 for a letter, how much did it weigh? We could keep going with this pattern for a long time, or I've seen some of you do this before. You're going to take your 0.27 plus 0.17 W and set it equal to $4.52. And I think I've seen a lot of you try and do this before. Basically, take the 0.27 away. So we end up with 0.17 W equals, let me just go ahead and take this away. So I've got $4.52 minus my 0.27, which is $4.25, and then divide both by 0.17. Now, if you don't want to do this, that's fine. You don't have to do this. You can continue the pattern, but it's going to take you 25 ounces to get there. And that kind of seems to be a lot. You might actually want to continue the pattern and say if you go up by 3 ounces, so then you might want to do 15. What's going on here? Well, really it's 0.17 times 3, so they're going up by plus 0.51 each time. That might make your pattern quicker if you're going to go ahead and continue it. All right, so basically I just want to mention one last thing on the last page. There is a checklist at the bottom of the page. Make sure you understand how to do all of these things. You have handouts on everything. We have covered it all, and so hopefully you'll be ready for the test. Good luck studying.